Welcome to GameBreakers. My name's Thomas.
My name's Scraigon.
And today we are going to be doing our session 0 for an RPG set in the Matrix. We're actually excited that this thing even exists. We were having a talk one day about like cool games cool settings for a game that we could use a universal mechanic for, and during the process we discovered a system called There Is No Spoon by Steve Darlington. You can find it at tinstargames.weebly.com/uploads/numbers/ why don't I just put this in the description section. But long story short, we discovered this gem of a system, a little independent, self-published system. It's super easy to learn, very cinematic, and relentlessly true to the flavor of the movies. And we're excited to get it started.
Definitely. So I have come up with a character idea. And this character idea is inspired as a relic hunter. Someone that hunts down old artifacts. Now, given the setting of the Matrix, I think that adds all the extra mysticism that all those adventure stories can have, because as we can see from the series of the Matrix, that there are a variety of things outside the normal world that are there in the Matrix.
Right. What is it, Arthur C. Clarke? Any significantly advanced form of science will appear to the layman as magic. And when we're talking about a world like the Matrix, then we're talking about the crazy Matrix shenanigans. So of course we all know the setting of the Matrix. We all know, the movies. If you haven't seen the movies, what are you doing watching YouTube? How did you get to YouTube if you've never seen the Matrix? Try again. And the Matrix, of course, is based on a set of comic books, and one very small point that this world, in the game setting, we're going to pull in from the comic books is what role humans played to the machines. And Scraigon has read more about that. I'll let him explain that bit.
So, from my readings, part of the original idea of the Matrix was humans were being used by the machines, but not as batteries presented in the movie, but rather as organic processors, as their brains were slaves to the Matrix and doing processing work. This is what enabled someone to alter or control the Matrix around them, aka the anomaly or the one.
Right, because their brains were actively processing code in the Matrix, they were able to have an effect on the world around them, rather than esoterically by the power of love. I don't know. How did that happen? Right, with practice, long story short. So, but the actual physical basis of it opens up some interesting narrative possibilities within a game. So as a GM, I decided to go ahead and pull that in. Let's see. Otherwise, should we describe the system to them a little bit? It's very, very simple. It's there are essentially two stats. Well, I mean, there's one stat that can be a variety of stats that are thematic, and then there's your matrix stat. It's skill plus matrix. Each of them sets a target number, and rolling beneath it means you succeeded at that portion of the task. Matrix trumps skill, and succeeding at both trumps one or the other. So that's it. That's the end of the system. I mean, there's there's some chips and things for damage, and we'll get to that as we play through it. We'll make sure we let you know what's going on. But or you could just go download the book, which is free online, and play a game yourself. Let us know what you think.
I'm pretty excited about it myself. When it comes to your basic two things you have about your character, your matrix stat and your skill. When it comes to your skill, it's pretty open-ended as far as what you want it to be. Skills are fairly inclusive, and this kind of led to me coming up with the basis of the character that I was bringing. The skills that I'm bringing forward are the intrusion skill, something like breaking into places and sneaking around, and investigation, which would be putting clues together and following leads and learning the bigger picture.
Right, researching some esoteric lore, things like that. And that was it. Those are your skills, right?
Those are my two skills, indeed.
Yeah, and then
now, as far as my character, you have various additional pieces beyond your two stats. You have your deal, and you have your fate. Those are interesting pieces, and then you're given a number of points to invest in your stats and skills and or items and such. And part of that investment I picked out was an artifact that I recovered, which I think is going to be part of our intro story.
Yes, and we can go ahead and detail a little bit of it, like the idea behind it. Of course, some of that is in my head and remains a mystery, and we'll see how it plays out. But what did you have in mind for this thing that you've bought with character resources?
So the idea that I had thought was this artifact that seems to have what would appear to be supernatural power, but really, as an item of the Matrix, it's a construct, and it has a reason. And with that, I have taken the idea of a possessed katana that is, as one of these examples, a near unstoppable force of its own. And so this katana has a skill of 6 with katana. And it seems to be the skill of a previous program. A program that is hiding itself and has disseminated itself into pieces to carry on its existence in the Matrix.
Right. Which sounds like a pretty simple piece of RPG, like standard tropiness. But in the Matrix, the questions that sword raises.
Indeed. What was it made for?
Now, I should say that we are specifically breaking the author's intention that this only include anything from the first movie, and everything else is, just ignore that. He has some strong things to say about it, but he does open up the game to, the game system is created with that possibility in mind, and we're weird like that. So we're thinking through things like questions that you can expect to have raised is, which iteration of the Matrix is this? Which iteration of the Matrix is the program from? What's where are we in human history timeline? What does human history mean in the Matrix?
Right.
Plus then, what is the age and what is this program hiding from? What does it have to hide? What are all the, and what is your character going to do about it? Which is basically what we're going to find out for the game.
I look forward to seeing what you have there. I'm sure there's a lot of answers that I haven't even got to questions for yet, but it'll be interesting.
I have spent a lot of time overthinking this, just like the Matrix. Sometimes an action,
which is kind of how this whole thing came about, as we were just sitting about and overthinking various different pieces, and found this content here.
Right?
There is no spoon.
There is no spoon. So this should be an interesting game. So to cover our session 0 topics, let's see. This game, I mean, we're going to be playing over-the-top cinematic style. You know, the RP will be at the level probably of Keanu Reeves acting.
Whoa.
Whoa. Which there's a whoa mechanic in the game. The rules are set up to be cinematic. So yeah, whoa. Other things you'd like to see from the game. I mean, you took the investigation skills, so I assume you're going to amount of mystery.
I think of it as like a mystery adventure type movie. You know, there'll be spooky parts, and there'll be like thinking parts, and there'll be action parts.
Right.
You know, maybe kind of an Indiana Jones-esque.
Right. Indiana Jones meets the Matrix. Indiana Jones as played by Keanu Reeves. No.
As far as a theme or a trope, not necessarily like a style of cinema or body casting.
Right. You're a more scholarly type, rather than, you know, you're kind of from your background, I suppose. Anything else you'd like to see in the game? I mean, the themes are pretty cut and dried. The violence is science fiction violence. You know, it never goes into dark places.
Right. Like I said, you know, the action part. You know, this is some action type setting. There's going to be wire-fu fights with guns,
right,
swords. You know, that's definitely, you know, a big piece I'm looking forward to. But also just exploring kind of the some of the whys behind things, and as a character that is a conspiracy theorist, putting together the reasons of why, you know, with outlandish reasons, but also learning of some of those outlandish things that are actually real. So enough to, like, I may have 10 crazy ideas, but one of them happened to be right, or something like that.
Right. You only have to be right once.
So
now
yes, exploring mystery.
We had brushed a little bit on how much we want to do in, like, what's going on with your ship. You're a revolutionary, which is what they're called in the setting or in the book. You're, you know, a freed human that plugs back in a pirated broadcast. This is where we send our pirated broadcast. Or broadcast back our pirated back into the Matrix.
Signal back into the Matrix. Indeed.
So you definitely have an operator, somebody who plugs and unplugs you, because otherwise you're batshit insane.
Right.
But we're probably not going to be spending a lot of time on that side of the Matrix for a couple of reasons. How much detail do you want to go into on your ship? Is that something that appeals?
I think having a crew and knowing them both on the ship and on the Matrix is going to be, you know, important because it's a sense of camaraderie. From the movie, I would have a hard time thinking about a crew that would go adventuring.
It would seem like a frivolous thing to most of like the hardcore, like Morpheus types of them. I mean, hell, even the quest for the one was like, what are you doing, dude? We have a war to fight.
Right.
You're looking for the ultimate weapon? What? Why? We've got actual things to shoot. So we'll. You probably aren't going to get priority resources.
Right. Right.
And I
But
imagine
if we're getting a Matrix super weapon by our powers combined,
maybe.
right? It's the moonshot.
Right. So does anybody from the ship come to the Matrix with you? I guess I should be prepared for that. This is a one-on-one campaign. I don't know how involved you want NPCs to be.
Right. Well, I imagine that I have a crew and we have things that we do together, but my visit to the Oracle sent me in this direction. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it according to what I think I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm sure that there's some people that think that's an appropriate thing to do and some that don't. So as far as NPCs, I could see probably one that's with me and one that I have some animosity with. They're like, that's a stupid idea. What are you doing? These are help doing these things.
Right, he's on punishment duty.
Right.
Only there because he slept with the commander's daughter. That kind of guy.
Something. Right.
All right, I can work with that. We'll put one or two people together, an operator and another, maybe one or two other Matrix.
A pilot and an operator.
I figure the operator and the pilot would be the same guy. Question is, who has the codes to Zion? Let's see.
The captain.
Right? Which begs a question. So for the openings, we'll introduce all that stuff and kind of figure it out as we went along. Now, it's been a couple of weeks. One of the things that the system talks about in its prelude portion is a scene with the Oracle. Everybody gets one. And we'll play out the whole scene. Tell us a little about what you think your character is like, how that would have set you, like where you want it to have pushed you. I guess is the way I want to put that.
Okay. Well, before my awakening, when I was still a slave to the Matrix, I was a conspiracy theorist, and I was always looking into things and what's going on behind the scenes. And so part of that was the conspiracy theory of the Matrix. The Matrix has you. And, with moon landings and aliens and, reptilian overlords, I did discover that the Matrix did have me. I would say that I was discovered, not someone that found me. I didn't self-evacuate. But once I made it into the, quote, real world, I realized that there must be some sort of purpose that I had made it back. And I found that purpose with the Oracle. Because not only was this the path of finding out, what's real and what's behind the scenes, but also having a guide, someone to share the truth or the knowledge with me. So that solidified his idea of what he needs to be doing. There's a reason that he was the one that this came to be.
And we'll play through that scene in our first session as part of your character introduction. It'll most likely be a flashback. Just spoiler alert. Just
right.
As we create the narrative arc and how this is all going to go. It's an important piece of the puzzle. And did we figure out what's your deal? That's one of the character defining things in the system is what's the deal with this guy? So what's the deal with Hunter?
Conspiracy theorist, Tomb Raider.
Nice, concise, evocative. I like it.
As far as the deal that I am obsessed with digging up Matrix artifacts because I believe that one of them is some sort of key to whatever it is that we're doing. I am the one that's suited to find them, retrieve them.
Right. Well, only you could do it. Anything else we want to do with this game? Like anything else in session 0 we want to do? Other than that, I mean, we could put some depth into the character, but attention to detail in session 0. But I don't think that's necessary. Did we cover all the bases?
I think we covered most of it. There would be session 0 questions I would typically go over with people that I have just met, but I think our long-standing history, I can assume various ones like, if I were to give this a rating of a movie, what would the rating be? Well, I would be comfortable playing an R-rated movie,
Right.
Adult themes, violence, that sort of thing.
Right, and we'll probably keep it basically PG-13. I mean, it's mostly going to be destructive violence. There's not a lot of gore.
Right.
Right. You're fighting computer programs.
Right.
So, let's see. Right, other basic questions that we would ask people that we hadn't played with for years. Methods to let us know if we stumble across a trigger. I like X cards. Just like, hey, let's all take a 5-minute break and reset the scene later.
Right.
But I know that I don't think we're going to run into much of that in this case with you. But with strangers, good thing to ask.
Right. Any uncomfortable topics? I don't have any.
Right. I mean, you have the same ones that like normal human beings have. We're not going to like deeply explore infanticide or anything like that. Well,
right.
Just as an example. Let's see. As far as power level of the game, we're starting at starting level. You have at starting level, as I expect you to do, started with something, well, game breaking. Like you found a way to put something unusual into the setting with your character resources. But hey, that's why I like to GM players like you. Let's see. All right. Well, I guess let's go ahead and sign off. Anything you wanted to say before we head out?
I can't wait for some wire kung fu sword shooting, swinging from bridges as they collapse, because I have the thing. That'll be cool.
Right, and this is an exceptionally cinematic system. You're not going to be disappointed with that, and I'll try to bring my A game for descriptions. If you're interested in finding out more about the system, Once again, we'll post the link to it in the descriptions. It's a free download by Steve Darlington, and wow, it's an interesting framework for a great setting. So we're excited to bring it. This will be the series There Is No Spoon with GameBreakers Media. So I'm Thomas.
And I'm Scraigon.
And we're signing off. Have a good game.
Bye.